On today's show, we have the CEO of Camaraderie Foundation, Maria Cherjovsky. Camaraderie Foundation is helping veterans heal the invisible wounds of war through counseling and emotional support. We cannot wait to get an update from her and learn all about Camaraderie and the new events they have coming on. Please like and subscribe. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. I'm James Groves, and along with my business partner, Bill Dement, we want to share our journey as small business owners with you. As owners of Hole in the Wall Drywall Repair, we will attempt to peel back the curtain of owning a small business in the trade service industry and talk about the many adventures of owning a small business. Hey, Bill.
James, good morning to you. How are you?
I'm good. Doing real good.
So we have a fun guest today. Beyond fun.
Beyond fun.
Repeat guest. Probably, if I consider it, one of the more articulate guests that we've had. All you got to do is get this guest going and sit back and listen.
That's right.
Did you notice that last time she was here?
Yeah, she's great.
She knows what she's about. She's got strong messaging, and man, she can articulate it.
Absolutely. And I'm going to butcher your last name again. Maria Cherjovsky.
You did awesome.
Okay, great. So Maria, she is with Camaraderie Foundation. She's a repeat guest. Obviously, those who know and listen to us know that we are big fans of the veteran community. Obviously, we've done work with FAVOB, and we've had Maria on to talk about camaraderie before. So welcome back to the show. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you so much for the invite.
Yeah.
Love it here.
The crowd is excited to have you.
Very
I
excited.
know.
And the air is blowing so loud today, it seems. I can hear it just blowing in my mic. So sorry about that. So glad you're here, Maria. We want to kind of remind our listeners just kind of what camaraderie does and just why it's so important in our community that we support the veterans and foundations like you.
Of course. So Camaraderie Foundation is celebrating quite the milestone this year. It is our 15th anniversary. Wow. So we're very proud of that. Not a lot of nonprofits get to celebrate such a milestone. So it is quite the celebration. From our mission perspective, however, for those listeners who may not have heard about us before, we provide healing for the invisible wounds of war for veterans and their families. And what that translates into is a series of programs and services that help veterans transition out of the military. And in doing so, we provide them with transition services, resources, whatever those may be. We can triage, we can case manage. But what we're mostly known for is our Family Fun Days, which is a very fun activity to get the family reunited and build an informal network amongst the veterans that we serve. So that is one of the most fun things that we do. Another area we're known for is the mental leadership program that we offer both in Tampa and Orlando. It runs for 8 to 10 months. We meet monthly, and we match each veteran with 2 mentors with whom they get to connect in between sessions and really help them have those discussions about questions that come up about reintegrating into society. As part of the program, we help them connect with different industries and employers. We help with resume writing, interview skills, building resiliency, grit, all of the skill sets that they will need to communicate in a professional environment in civilian life, which is quite different from the prescribed methodology and communication style that you see in the military. And then the last thing, which really is the most important one and what we're known for the most, is the mental health counseling. There's a lot to be said about PTSD for society at large, right? It's a conversation we've had a few months back. Coming out of COVID, it's something that it's somewhat become normalized, that everybody in some way, shape, or form has suffered a version of mental health. And it's a process and it's a journey. And for veterans, that is no different, whether they were part of war, regardless of their age, regardless of what they may have experienced in their military career. And we are here to meet those needs. And we do so by sponsoring their mental health treatment, so they're able to get the support they need at no cost in an anonymous way, HIPAA compliant, so that they do not ever have to wonder if their insurance is going to find out, if they're able to afford it, if their employer will know, and if they're still active military, who we also serve, we don't want them to ever bypass the opportunity to seek treatment and help simply because they may think their career could be compromised along the way.
So do you find that men and women coming out of the military, they have this, I can't get counseling because it's a bad image that looks bad on me?
Absolutely. There's a number of reasons. One, there's a stigma that comes with it, right? It is something that as human beings, it takes a lot to accept that we need help. We are trained to be self-sufficient, and that applies even more so within the military, right? You're trained to react, respond, deploy, practice, and to the extent that things become second nature. So you don't really take the time to think about your mental concerns, your feelings. You don't talk about that in the military. There's no real room for it. So for people who have made a career out of the military, it's ingrained in them that that is not a typical discussion. Now, we also know that there's more men than women in the military. So now you have the female-male perspective as well. And there are some males that will openly talk about feelings, but the vast majority will not. So it's a compounding effect as well. So yes, we see that happening quite often. So by the time they come to us, it's typically because they are suffering in one way or another. They're not able to maintain a job. They're job hopping and they can't find the stability that they're needing, which is causing them stress and the flare up of emotions. So they don't really know how to cope. Or it's also showing up in the family dynamic with their spouse, their partner, their children, because there's a process to become reintegrated into society because of what we call an identity crisis, right? If your career is what defines you, and you don't have to be military for that to be the case, for many years, I would refer to myself as a higher administrator or higher education this. Our titles really carry quite the weight because we're proud of it. We work really hard for it. And military is no different. So once you detach from that, there's an entire process that they go through to sort of figure out who they are as an individual and what they want to do for the rest of their life. And that instability, that insecurity is, again, a compounding effect with many other variables that can come to play as they try to find their place in society, in the home, in the family, in your job, working on the budgets and everything else that they're working through all at once.
So you mentioned earlier about the invisible wounds of war, right? So I kind of like how that is, because obviously we know physical ailments, people get injured, especially in combat, but it's these hidden wounds. And frankly, if you're, especially coming from a guy, that's me, a dude, if I have a failure, right? If I have something that I'm not able to succeed in, it deflates me to a point that making that, even if it was just an honest mistake, but making that next step, it's difficult for me to get past it, right? So you have to figure out, by the time they're hitting you, they're really defeated. I mean, they've hit multiple failures. If you're having to job hop, if you're having struggles with your family or your kids, and finally be able to seek help, that's a struggle. And luckily, you're there. Thank God you're there for that process. But how many people aren't willing or able to just go to get the help they need?
Absolutely.
The suicide rate for veterans is enormous. And people need access to quality health care, mental health care, and that's a service you're providing.
Absolutely. When it comes to mental health and suicide, we really are about suicide prevention. And second to that, we are all about keeping the family unit intact. So we can help avoid divorce rates, which impacts not only the financial and mental well-being of the entire family unit. That is also something we're trying to surround and address through our commitment to providing mental health counseling, because it's not just to the veteran, but we do offer those services to the entire family unit. And to your point, by the time they ask for help, they will have attempted multiple times to overcome the challenges on their own. It is not uncommon for me to meet with a veteran who will say, I'm on my 4th transition. I'm on my 5th transition. And for an everyday person, that may not mean much. It's like, oh, okay, well, you're transitioning again. Good for you. You're testing the waters, trying different things. But if you work in the mental health space, what that really speaks to is a level of instability that it's bound to cause some inner turmoil and potentially result in PTSD or an outbreak of some sort. We also can extrapolate that and not assume, but we can estimate the level of impact it has on the family unit, the family dynamic, communication in the household, relationship with the children, whether they're still at home or now grown and they missed that opportunity. So again, it's a matter of knowing all of those variables. And by the time they come to us, they may have attempted VA. VA seems to place a greater emphasis on physical ailments. And the mental health piece is still widely misunderstood and secondary. So it's not uncommon for someone to be prescribed an antidepressant or some kind of pill. We also have many veterans who will self-medicate, with whatever their choice may be, pills, alcohol, or otherwise. And we do see about a 33 to 34% self-reported, so it could be higher, of clients who have a dual diagnosis of PTSD and substance abuse. So it really does speak to the level of challenge that we're dealing with and the fact that, because it does validate, right, the fact that they have attempted to handle and cope on their own before they reached out for help. And sometimes it is a spouse who will give them an ultimatum, get some help, or
or else.
something else, or a friend, someone who's gone through that process and is able to recognize the symptoms and the challenge. So we listen for very key things. And to the example I was sharing before, someone who says with a smile, I'm on my 4th transition. We know what that means, and we will dig a little deeper, even if it is an informal interaction, and just ask, how do you like your current job? How are things going? Do you see yourself staying there? So we start to probe and figure out, is this their landing spot? Have they really found the place where they needed to be, and it was just coincidental that they took a couple of detours before they got there? Are they happy? Or are we going to be having the same conversation a month from now with yet another transition and now potentially a mental health break? And do we have to intervene in a different level?
Did you know that there are over 140 million homes in the U.S.? 97% of them have walls and ceilings that are built using drywall. The drywall repair industry is simply enormous, valued at over $13 billion a year. We're hole-in-the-wall drywall repair. And for years, we have been perfecting the art of repairing drywall, developing and refining our systems, and strengthening our brand. Our business model is simple, scalable, and easy to learn. We believe it's a real game changer. We are successful drywall repair pros who decided to take our repair business to a higher level, growing both our franchise training and support to industry-leading standards. You'll benefit from our vast experience helping your franchise hit the ground running and achieve success quickly. We'll give you access to our marketing team that has created strategic programs designed to get your phone ringing and booking new business fast. Join a fast-growing leader in an exciting dynamic segment of the home service industry by franchising with hole-in-the-wall drywall repair. Start building your own business and securing your own financial future today.
I know you said during the pre-show when we were talking that it affects so much more than just the service member. So touch on that a little bit about how the families are, and I think you actually gave a statistic about how many of the people you're seeing that are family members and not specifically the service member.
Absolutely. So between 33 and 34%, a lot of stats seem to fall in the 30s, I've noticed, but between 33 and 34% of the clients that we currently serve this last year, since we track them every month, are dependents. It could be a partner, a spouse, a child of an active service member or a veteran who is going through a moment in time in life when they find themselves needing help, and we're there to provide that support. Why do we do that? Because a veteran is not just an individual, it's part of a bigger network, a family, a community, society. So there's spheres of influence that impact everybody with whom we come in touch with. So we know that there's at least 6 layers, 6 degrees of separation that we can potentially impact if we are not doing well ourselves. So really it's a commitment to the veteran, the family, and society as a whole, to make sure that whatever's challenging them and they're going through, if we can contain it and address it, we can't avoid that potential impact and the ripple effects.
So when you are dealing with somebody Is it a short-term thing, or is this like because you mentioned you got caseworkers, you can manage the entire case, but sometimes is it a small, just couple counseling sessions to kind of get them through that hurdle, or are they all, larger style
It really
cases?
depends on the individual, and there's averages that we'll measure based on the number of sessions it takes to stabilize someone. And right now we're averaging 9.4 sessions is what it takes to accomplish a certain level of success. And we define that by their ability to maintain a job, be able to communicate openly, their level of activity in society, in a social aspect. If they're, because the opposite is quite common as well. They will lock themselves up at home. They don't want to interact with people. They don't want to come out. They don't even sit down for dinner at the same table. They're not interested in pursuing a job or hobbies. Those are all the signs that we look for. Clearly, signs of depression or a different type of mental health, we're not here to diagnose, but we know that those are the most recurrent signs. But as far as helping them, there's a variety of things that will happen, and we engage with them throughout that process.
So your Family Fun Day, is it periodical, or is it per family? I mean, tell me about the Family Fun Days.
So the Family Fun Day we probably should find a different name, because when we're looking for funding, it does create a little bit of a challenge sometimes, like, oh, you just have a fun day out. But the reality is that we engage with veterans in different ways, right? So we look at their mental health, and to your prior question, we see them through the entire treatment. So if they are homeless, or if they're they're dealing with food insecurity, whatever the challenge may be, we are able to triage and find them the resources they need, sometimes in-house, sometimes elsewhere. If the challenge relates to mental health, we will sponsor the entire treatment, however long that is. And I mentioned 9.4 sessions is the average. 3 years ago, it used to be 6 sessions to get them stabilized. So one of the reasons in which we're able to hopefully delimit how many sessions they need and how long of a period they have to go through mental health, which is really a discussion that happens between them and their mental health counselor. It's not something that we impose. We average out 9.4 sessions. We budget for up to 12 sessions, but we have some that within 2 and 3 sessions is just what they needed, because they came to us early on that they needed some coping mechanisms, right? And now it's easier to handle than someone who is at the breaking point. They're losing their house, they're losing their spouse, they're, basically hell's broken loose. At that point, it's not just about their mental health, but their livelihood, their home stability. Unless we stabilize them as a family and as an individual, we can't even start to even address mental health, right? Because they need a roof over their heads as well. So it really depends on the individual and the situation. So the Family Fun Day is an opportunity to engage more informally with the families and the veterans by reminding them what it's like to be out and have fun. From a physiological perspective, we're looking for some vitamin D. We're looking to oxygenate their brains and their body so it can change their moods as well. Hopefully allow them to open up their communication. Why? Because they're not only interacting with us, but they're interacting with another 50, 100, even 600 veterans who come out for those events. So there's a relatability factor that happens instantaneously amongst veterans, even when they just meet. All they have to say is what branch and where they were at, and off they go in a conversation all of their own, like they've been best friends for life. In that moment, in that instant, they're able to get help in a dialogue that we may not even be able to get to for weeks until they open up and they're able to express what they're going through. So that informal approach, although it's a Family Fun Day, it really allows them to connect with other people who may have gone through the same process, who may be going through the same process, or who may recognize and identify themselves in the other person. So there's a mutually beneficial opportunity there for support above and beyond what we can do. And that is part of our secret sauce, the fact that there are conversations in a built-in trust that can really help progress them through that journey that we may not be able to do all on our own. So there's many, many benefits to that day.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of fun with those as well.
I'm curious, is there, after someone has been through your counseling or in your program, is there sort of a follow-up, or is there like you're just a member of the family now? Is there?
Great question. So everybody who comes through our programs is a forever family member of Camaraderie.
Okay.
We invite them to all of our events, whether it's a fundraiser or a family fun day. If we have free tickets to an event or a venue or a celebration, we will always invite them to come back. Many of them, because they may have a subsequent episode, something going in life, right? Life is a matter of cycles and ups and downs. And so we want to be able to stay in touch with them should they need assistance again. And many of them will come back a second time. The other piece is that some of them want to give back. And we love those opportunities for not only testimonials, but they may come back and say, I want to mentor someone. I am now stable. I have a job. I started my own business. I want to be able to give back because thanks to you guys, I am now alive. I am stable. And I'd like to do the same thing and help somebody else and pay it forward.
That's great. How many active cases typically are going on at one time for you guys?
Another great question. So we'll see somewhere around 400 to 600 people a year on the mental health. When you combine the mental leadership and family fun days, we help around 1,500 people a year. So that's quite the number. But on any given time, we will take roughly 60 to 70 applications a month. We tend to lose through attrition, roughly 25% of those. Reason being, it's one thing is to say, I think I'm ready. I think I need some help. I think I'm ready. And then the reality sinks in once you fill out paperwork and you really have to start to itemize what are the challenges you're facing and agree to go through this process and this journey with us and your mental health counselor. Because we want your well-being,
yeah,
right?
I'm sure,
That's what everybody's looking for.
Looking all that in the face is daunting for some individuals,
It can
right?
be very daunting. So we know the average is roughly 25% that we lose in that process. And we qualify them in categories, didn't return, changed their mind, went elsewhere, moved out of the area. So there's a variety of reasons for that. It's not that they all just said, no, I don't want to do it. But there's a handful of them who realize, I thought I was ready. I'm just afraid of what may come up. I'm not quite ready to take the next step. And so we keep that dialogue open. We engage them to partake in other projects and other programs, volunteer, go through the mentor leadership. And when they're ready, they will come back and
So when someone is seeking help from you, do they seek you out, or is this something where you guys are being proactive? Maybe somebody says, I know a guy, could you reach out to them?
It's a combination of both. I think that word of mouth is by far our biggest friend when it comes to this organization, because as broad of a community there is out there for veterans, it is very tight-knit as well. And there are a lot of informal communication channels. And for people who have had great success with us, they'll be the first ones to tell someone else. And, we have some that will keep it quiet. They will never really share the fact that they needed help and that we were there to support them during their time of need. But there are many others who are very proud of how far they have come, and they will use their own experience to share with others who they recognize could use the same assistance.
So one of the events that you've got coming up is a breakfast, right? So it's coming up in
June 27th.
June 27th, and it's the PTSD Awareness Breakfast?
Yes, it is PTSD Awareness Day is commemorated on June 27th, which is why we selected that specific day for our breakfast. It is our inaugural breakfast. We've never held this event before. This is our first time doing so. We're quite excited because it aligns with our mission, and we're really all about creating awareness and education for people who may not know what we do, who may not realize the severity of PTSD amongst veterans. I know I didn't share numbers before. The stats haven't changed a whole lot. We still talk about national averages of 22 veterans who will take their life every single day. There's some stats that will report as high as 46 or even more. And so if you think about it, is 1 to 2 veterans every single hour. And so June 27th, it's a great opportunity for us to host the local community. We have some elected officials who are joining us as well, some funders, and other individuals who may just be finding out about us for the first time. So we're not charging anybody to attend. We hope that people will take those funds and donate them instead. It is at the Hilton Bonnet Creek, so beautiful venue. And it really is all about creating awareness and creating some fundraising opportunities and some partnerships along the way, because it does take a village.
Yeah. How long, how large of a group you think it'll be? How many people?
150 people.
Wow. Okay. Very nice.
Yes.
Well, good. So listen, if people wanted to join that breakfast, what's the best way to get an invitation?
They can contact us directly. They can call us or email us. It is on the website. There's an RSVP link on it as well on the invite. And for people who are not able to make this event, we have others throughout the year. We just had our Rucksack Race, which is a 5K in Tampa. The Orlando one is coming up in November. We also held at the end of May, early May actually, we held our golf tournament in Orlando, Eagle Creek. And we have another inaugural event for us. We have a golf tournament in Tampa at MacDill Air Force Base. So we will be on site on base for that one, which is the first one for us. And we have our gala celebrating the 15th year anniversary at the Sheraton North in Maitland. That one's coming up on September the 14th. So plenty of opportunities for people to become engaged, to support us. If somebody's looking for sponsorship opportunities, great way to get their name out there and at a minimum support at great cost.
Well, I'll tell you, you're a tremendous advocate for the Camaraderie Foundation.
Yeah.
And we appreciate you coming on today. Thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely. And so the website is camaraderiefoundation.org. And you can find a lot of information if you or someone who thinks they need some support or some help, or maybe you know someone, a family member, you can guide them to that website. Obviously, there's donation links. We encourage people to give, because I know it's not cheap paying for all these things that you're doing. And as much support as you're getting, you can help more people if you have more money. So
absolutely. Could not have said it any better.
Very good. Well, Maria, thanks. Thanks
Thank
for coming
you.
on. Sharon.
Always so fun to come visit with you guys.
Yeah, it is. I like it. Let's do it again, and we'll see you around. I'm sure we bump into each other quite often, so I'm glad.
We do.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get to see you guys at one of our events as well.
Right.
We like that.
All right, good deal. Well, thanks everyone for listening. It's a great show. We'd like to thank you for listening to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. We'd love for you to join our Facebook group and keep the conversation going. If you'd like to learn more about us and our business, check us out at holeinthewall.com. If you'd like to learn more about how to start a Hole in the Wall franchise, go to holeinthewallfranchising.com.